Feeling like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp tank.
Welcome back to another episode of the Shrimp Tank. We come to you virtually from Seattle and the entire Pacific Northwest. And today we're actually heading into the Midwest. We'll tell you more about that in just a minute. Listen, if you want to learn how to start, grow, or run a successful business, you, my friend, have come to the right place. This is where we say street smarts and book smarts collide. Hello again, everyone. I'm Dan Whedon, and I'm joined by my co-host, my partner in crime today, Monica Blackwood. Our guest is Shobi Zietlow, founder and president of Referral Staffing Solutions. Referral Staffing Solutions is a staffing and recruiting agency celebrating 10 years in business. What a great accomplishment. After gaining valuable experience in the staffing industry and a degree in supervisory management, Shobi recognized an opportunity to create something truly impactful. Referral Staffing Solutions, which is located in Wisconsin, was born from her vision, offering tailored solutions that prioritize attitude and drive over just mere skills. As president and owner, Shobi brings a wealth of expertise and hands-on knowledge, ensuring that both employers and job seekers find lasting success. Now, beyond her professional endeavors, Shobi enjoys exploring the outdoors and cherishes time with her son, significant other, bonus kiddos, and her beloved pups. Welcome, Shobi. We'll be right with you. Everyone, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. We are on iHeartRadio, number 3 ranked entrepreneur show on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and YouTube. You might say we are ubiquitous. Now, before we bring on Shobi, hello there, Monica.
Hey, Dan, how's it going?
Good, other than I've been battling a little bit of a cold, so if I sound nasally and congested, and I'll try not to cough on everybody, that's the reason. But other than that, I feel great. Spring is in the air, Pacific Northwest style.
Definitely Pacific Northwest style. Little damp out there, little less color, but hey, we'll be colorful right here, right?
Well, speaking of colorful, things could get colorful here. I'm going to be fully transparent. I have upstairs some noisy, loud, rambunctious, and often smelly, but could be loud today, crash, bang, boom, employees. They're rowdy, they're uncultured. They're also my grandchildren. They are ages 5 and 20-month-old twins. Barb has them upstairs. She's in charge of wrangling and coordinating them. And so if we hear something break or crash, unless it's Barb, I'll let her deal with that. If I think it's her, I might have to leave. Who knows? But in the age of Zoom, since the pandemic, things like that happen, and we just all deal with it. However, dealing with messy, mean, disruptive, breaking things employees, probably you've probably had to run into some of that, not in your own company, but you're in the staffing and HR business.
That is true. And yes, fortunately, I have a fantastic team. And when they get noisy, it's all because of good reasons. But yes, there are times when we have had to deal with individuals who might be really excited about something, really passionate about something, might not be
what be angry. They might even be angry about something or bitter, right?
Well, I would like to think that they are just really passionate about their point of view. Anger, is in the eye of the beholder, but one of the best ways to handle them is to kind of kill them with kindness. That's that whole adage of sitting there, listening to their point of view, talking through different solutions. Most of the time, they just want somebody to listen, and so that's what we do. We sit there and we listen, and it might be a 5-minute conversation. It might be an hour long. Lots of times in these days, people are talking via their social media. And so we get a lot of comments on our social media or on job posts that we put up, and people are, making their comments and wanting to, give their 2 cents of the jobs and the employers that we partner with. And So, just responding back, making sure that they know that they've been heard and saying, hope you're doing well, and all of that. It's all about killing them with kindness.
Well, I know that we have somebody here who I want to get her 2 cents in. Somebody that you have introduced me to is Shobi Zietlow. Shobi, I make a pretty good peanut butter and jelly sandwich for my employees, and that usually helps out. But I know that you probably have clients coming to you because they want to either bring on new employees or change employees or things like that. Welcome to the show, Shobi. Tell us a little bit about your business.
Yeah, thank you so much. Well, yeah, sometimes they are just hungry, so peanut butter and jelly can do the trick. But if that's not working, and if killing them with kindness isn't working, yeah, sometimes it is reaching out and starting that recruitment process to find the right people. People are happier in a role that they connect to and where they have passion for whatever it is that they're doing, and that is something that we found over the years. Is incredibly important, that we need to make sure that the positions and the employees' long-term goals really align with one another in order to keep that crankiness level down.
For sure. I totally agree with that. And so kind of on the line of mentioning, people are happier doing things that they align with. You stepped out on your own and started referral staffing 10 years ago now, which is really fantastic. And you talk about wanting attitude fit in addition to skills fit, which is great and totally all about, happy employees. What is it that you absolutely love about what you're doing at Referral Staffing?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm actually going to backtrack a little bit and just kind of talk about the staffing journey itself. So I didn't start in staffing. I think you hear this probably a lot with people in the staffing industry. They didn't seek out the staffing industry. The industry found them, right? So I decided to relocate. I was going to school. I was a young single mom. And I found this opportunity in an entry-level role within a staffing company. And I remember talking to my grandparents about it. And apparently, a long time ago, now this was at the very end of my grandfather's life, that he told me he worked for a staffing agency, but they made him use a fake name. And so he was very opposed. He was like, I don't know if you want to work for that industry. But I was like, no, I'm going to try this. So I stepped into this role. It was an entry-level role. And the first 6 months, I wasn't sure. I was like, I don't know if this is what I want to do. But it was probably about 6 months in when I had people coming back to me and saying, hey, you helped me find this role, and this is where I am in my life now. Like, you saw something in me and gave me that opportunity, and this is how it's helped me in my life. And very much with those success stories, it always starts with the employee, right? Like, if you don't have the right employee, they're not going to have a successful placement. So you need to have the right attitude. You need to have the right drive in order for a position to be successful. But being able to be a tiny little part of that, helping facilitate that, is huge. And it's so fun. I mean, the other day, my branch manager said she was walking, like, she walks down the street and gets tacos from this place, and somebody was driving by and yelled out his window, like, hey, I love my job. Thank you for getting it. I've been there for 2 years, or however long it's been. So sometimes it's the littlest thing, right? But if you can find that, help facilitate that placement, it can be really impactful in a person's life. And so we really try to listen to what are the must-haves and what's the desired, right? We want to make sure we're not compromising on the must-haves, and we're doing our best to find the desired, because all in all, that helps for a well-rounded, successful solution for not only that employee, but for that customer, and then, of course, for our business as well.
So, Shobi, do you specialize in any industries, or are you agnostic in that area? I know you work with both people who are hiring, employers, and people who are job seekers. Do you specialize in any way, or can you work with anybody?
Yeah. So that is the age-old struggle. So when we first started, one of the reasons I started was like, I had to say no to a lot of people because they didn't fit in our funnels. And I didn't like that. I didn't like that we had to turn people away or businesses away because they didn't fit in our funnels. It is funny. I just graduated from this entrepreneurial training program. And somebody in the class said that. He's like, oh, I left my company because they had all these corporate rules and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, but the longer I'm in business, the more I understand the need for the corporate rules, right? And that very much falls in line with the funnels. So we, at this point, our funnels are probably a little too broad. The first time that we really sat down and looked at our client list and said, we need to make some tough decisions, and we started walking away from some clients, was in 2021. So in our area, I know sometimes in Wisconsin, things happen a couple months after they happen in Washington. So it was, I think it was around March of 2021, I was like, oh my gosh, we've got all these businesses calling. Our marketing is really working. This is great. And then I realized at the same time that application stopped. So it wasn't, our marketing was phenomenal. It was just people stopped applying for jobs at that point. And so we said yes, yes, yes to all these people. And I had all of my recruiters were just like playing ping pong, right? Just ping pong ball, bouncing all around without a lot of focus and direction. And so we had to take a minute, step back and look at who are the clients that we're working with, who does it make sense to continue to work with. And we had some really great clients that just didn't work from a physical location standpoint because we didn't have other clients similar to them. So at this point, to try to answer your question, we do light industrial, skilled industrial placements. We do office clerical and administrative placements. And then we focus on the mid to upper level roles with human resources, finance, and accounting. I still think there's room to probably shave that back a little bit and be a little more specific with what we do. But I'm also nervous about shaving it back too far. But I know there's a lot of value in narrowing that down. But at the same time, when you have somebody who comes to you and they're looking for a job, you want to help everyone. And when you have a business that's desperately looking for employees, you want to help everyone. So we are trying to figure out where those exact funnels are and trying to make educated decisions and look at the data and where have we been successful so we can continue making sure that we're narrowing that focus as much as we can so we can be better at what we're doing because the more focused we are, the better results we can provide for those funnels.
So, scaling back with respect to the breadth of organizations and industries that you work in definitely does allow you to be more specialized and kind of go deeper into those industries, so to speak. What about client type? Do you have an ideal client that you would be like, oh yes, if I could work with a client that's like that, client company that's like that, would it matter what industry they were in? Would you still say no? What are those kind of characteristics that you look for from businesses and HR individuals in order to partner with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say if it was the right client, I think we would make it work. We're in a very small geographical area, so we have limits, right? But our favorite clients are the ones that employees are out on the street talking about and saying, these are great places to work. So employers, that have really branded themselves as the go-to employer. A lot of times that includes the company culture, right? That's huge. And company culture, you can preach about it all day long, but you've got to live and breathe it for the employees to live and breathe it and tell their friends and tell their family and post it on social media and all of those things. So that's a really important piece. Good pay, good benefits. I think clear expectations are really important. That's probably one of the biggest challenges that I've had personally in my own business, as well as a lot of employers, especially smaller employers that we're working with. As you build and grow, like having clear set expectations can be really challenging. And in order for employees to feel comfortable and safe and secure and understand what they're looking for or understand what they're doing on a day in and day out basis, those clear expectations need to be there. Not that it needs to be, you need to make 50 calls, but clear expectations of what those outcomes are. And then depending on the employee, making sure that they have a roadmap to get there. But yeah, I would say that those businesses where employees, people on the street are talking about that being a good place to go can be really important. It's a question that we've had in our interview questions because we want to know, what are people saying? What are people saying about these various businesses and why are they good companies to work for? And that helps us determine what companies we're going to solicit, shall we say. day.
Well, Shobi, our sponsors have clear expectations of us. They expect us to talk about them at certain points, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to take a short break to hear from today's Spotlight sponsor. When we come back with our guest, Shobi Zietlow, for our Hot or Not section of the show, we're going to ask Shobi what she thinks about AI. Don't walk away. We'll be right back with more of the Shrimp Tank. Do you know where great people go to meet great companies? I do. It's West Sound Workforce. For 25 years, West Sound Workforce has been putting people to work, matching their skills and interests with positions employers are looking to fill right here in our own communities. Specialized in temp to hire, and direct hire placement services, West Sound Workforce is there to help job seekers looking to find their next position or their next career step with no cost. Companies partner with West Sound Workforce to augment their recruitment strategies, whether to cover the shift of a vacation employee of their own, having extra hands to make a special project happen, or searching for their next new team member. Visit our website at westsoundworkforce.com or check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn.
Welcome back to the Shrimp Tank, where we interview the best and brightest CEOs and business thought leaders in the greater Puget Sound area and beyond. And today we're talking beyond because we are talking with Shobi Zietlow from Wisconsin. I'm Monica Blackwood, and our next segment is Hot or Not.
And Shobi, I think you've listened to the show. This is where Monica and I are going to pepper you with questions about business, about staffing, about life. Who knows? Maybe we'll throw in some dogs. But we're going to expect you to tell us whether the concept or topic is hot or not, and why or why not. You heard me tease out, we're going to talk about AI. So I know that when people are doing resume writing, I'm sure there's resume writing that still goes on. Some of them may be looking to AI, ChatGPT, things like that. So hot or not, Shobi, AI for resume writing?
Definitely hot. Definitely hot. It's so important when you're putting your resume out there to put those keywords, make it very searchable, because a lot of businesses are using AI with their applicant tracking systems as they're grabbing those resumes. And if your resume has those keywords in it that the company is looking for, it can really connect you to better opportunities quicker. Super hot.
Super hot. How about using AI to help with proposals that you might be using or going after when you're talking to potential clients?
Yeah, I would say hot as well. I think AI is hot all around. And really using prompts, telling AI who you are and what you're trying to accomplish can really help you get the best results. But always with AI, always make sure that you're looking at that information, that you're not just copying and pasting and sending what AI tells you. The human element is really important, and making sure that factual information is up to date and how you want it to read your brand as well, but super hot.
Shobi, this next question is going to tell you that our crack staff went and did some deep research on you. So here we go. Hot or not, tofu scrambles for breakfast?
Definitely hot. Definitely hot for me.
I didn't know a gal from Wisconsin where all the cheese and beer and all of that. I saw on your Facebook page, because you kindly gave it to us to do some researching. First thing I see is you doing, and it looked pretty good, some tofu scrambles.
Yes, high in protein. That's huge. So yes, looking for protein and whole food, plant-based is very hot in my world. Maybe not in all of Wisconsin, but definitely in this household.
In your household. And so how do those tofu scrambles translate to running a 5K? Is that hot in your space?
Yes. So I had a girlfriend from high school that ran a 5K once a month for an entire year. And I was like, I am not a runner. I will never do that. And of course, I was drinking beer, which always helps to make great decisions. And a girlfriend and I said, we're going to run a 5K once a month for an entire year. And that was back in 2016, November of 2016, I ran a half marathon. So this year we decided to start a 5K once a month. They threw it out there. I've got a whole group. I actually just finished mapping out our route for Saturdays for our February 5K. But heck yeah, get off the couch and like go run. It's hot. Let's do it.
So are you saying that you route out these 5Ks yourself, or you and your friend do that, or do you just sign up? I see them, online virtually all the time, and it's like, oh yeah, for $20 I can sign up for that and go do it.
Yeah, so pre-2020, you could find them everywhere throughout the winter. Winters in Wisconsin, there was one time we ran at like a negative 18-degree 5K. There was frost in places that
hold on. I hate interrupting, but did I hear you say a negative 18, like in degrees?
Yes. Yeah, it was really, really cold, but that was when you signed up for it, so you didn't have a choice. It was that day. But it's funny when people run or do physical activities outside in that type of temperature, you see where they sweat through their clothes, and it's interesting. We'll just say crack frost may have been a term that was used that day. So, you find ways to find joy in the negative 18-degree weather. Yeah. So for this 5K, so far for this year, there was one 5K about 30 miles from here that was available in February, but we didn't have one in January. So at this point, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to create my own route. So I went on Strava, created a route. February, we're just doing the January route backwards because I might have been a little bit behind on that. And last time we had like 25 participants, which was super cool for this tiny little thing that I just threw out on Facebook and, invited a few people too.
So Shobi, we may have to talk more because I'm doing more plant-based stuff myself and all of those fun things. So we'll have to talk about that more later. But maybe we should get back a little bit just to some of the things you do now. It's hard to miss, especially if you watch sports, all of the commercials from Indeed and ZipRecruiter and all of that. Talk a little bit for somebody who may say, what's the difference? What is the difference in working with you in Referral Staffing Solutions and going on Indeed or on ZipRecruiter or something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So ZipRecruiter or Indeed, LinkedIn, wherever you post your jobs, those are essentially job boards. Now, job boards have come a long way over the past couple of years, but it's still not a person, right? It's still just gathering as much information as possible. But if you have somebody who applies, like you can set up some steps in those programs to help ease some of the administrative burden with that. But when you work with an agency, we're able to go through and do the screening and kind of screen out the people that don't fit, that do the application process, and really save company face, right? Like one of the big things we see is when you don't have a dedicated recruitment team working on your open recs, we have a lot of candidates that fall through the cracks. So candidates that apply and they never hear anything. Candidates that go through for a portion of the process, you decide they're not right. So maybe the company is busy focused on the people that are right. Those people fall through the cracks. And that can really hurt a company's image if you're letting too many people fall through the cracks without communication. Considered it ghosting, right? Like we hear it all the time on the candidate side. Candidates ghost us, they apply and they don't ever call us back. But it's the same thing on the company side. We need to make sure that we're communicating with those people that have applied, even if we're not interested in moving forward with them, because guess what? 2 years from now, we might have a job that's perfect for them. But if they have a bad taste in their mouth from a bad recruitment experience, they may not have an interest, or they may come in and be one of those cranky employees that you mentioned you may have upstairs. So like just coming in with a little bit of a negative taste, right? Like the onboarding process starts from the initial application. It doesn't start after you've offered them the job. Every step of the way is creating that journey for that employee. And so making sure that you have a system in place, and that could be, humans at an agency that really help those employees through that process and ensure that there's a full process from start to finish, right? They're not left hanging. We have a thing where we try to follow up with everybody before Friday, right? The Friday follow-up, make sure that people know going into the weekend where they're at in the process. Even if you don't have an answer, let them know like, hey, this is where we're at. This is what the timeline is. This is what we're expecting, but don't let people go into the weekend wondering what their status is.
That's fantastic. And, Indeed is really popular. ZipRecruiter is all over the place. I see it as well here in the Pacific Northwest. Talk about social media and how you use social media for recruitment, specifically. I'm sure it's hot. And what about even things like TikTok?
Yeah, so it's funny. I don't know. We just hired a marketing person, and so I have asked her, like, is it cool that we're doing like some totally goofy TikToks and some very educational TikToks? And I'm like, do we need to like pick? And she says, no, both is great. So yeah, I mean, TikTok, we actually have had some candidates that have come through from TikTok. I was shocked. That's really kind of more of a creative outlet. And if we need to laugh at ourselves, we sometimes we'll go on TikTok and make a video about how silly we are. Aside from that, we are really marketing to two different clients in a sense, right? Like we're trying to find candidates that are looking for jobs. We're trying to find job seekers, and then we're also trying to talk to customers. And so the reality is, like, even though we're directing our communication towards one or the other, both parties should be aware of what the other party is getting, what the other party's information is. If we're talking about being prepared for an interview and showing up on time, the customer should know that that's the message we're sending to the employees. And if we're talking about having clear descriptions of what you're looking for with your job, clear expectations, clear communication as to where a candidate is in the process, that's directed more towards the customer, but the job seeker is going to want to know that as well. So we really do kind of try to focus in on one or the other so they know if it's directed at them. But regardless, I think it's helpful information regardless of what side of the coin you're sitting on.
So, 10 years is a fantastic accomplishment. Congratulations. I want to highlight that because you're celebrating it during the year. And this is, I guess it could have come in the plead the fifth, but I don't think you'd plead the fifth to this. Over those 10 years, what do you know today that you had no idea in starting a business? What do you know today, 10 years later, that may have surprised you 10 years ago?
Yeah, I will say the first aha moment was we made money the first year, which is great. But then we had to pay our taxes, and then we had to pay estimated taxes for the next year. And I was like, oh, dang, we didn't make that much money. Like, our cash flow isn't flowing, so this isn't cool. So that was like a big moment where I was like, oh, like I was responsible for reading, the profit and loss statements for my branch, but not for the company as a whole. I wasn't responsible for the accounting. I wasn't responsible for any of those things. Finding workers' compensation, that's a whole new world. Depending on where you're located, depending on what your state fund options are versus private options, there's so many different things. So I think as I started the business, it very much was managing costs, right? Like I had to make sure that I was looking at every single penny that was spent, which meant I learned lots and lots of things that I didn't know. And thankfully, there are lots of resources available. The Small Business Administration is great. There's the local university system has some entrepreneurial training programs, which have been helpful. But I think as we've grown, there have been things that I'm like finally like able to take off my plate and put on a professional's plate. But in the meantime, figuring out enough to be dangerous with it, maybe not enough to like teach somebody else how to do it. But as you grow and as you build that cash flow, you can be much more impactful doing what you do best. So for me, for example, finding employees and placing employees and building businesses, building relationships with businesses, and so as I'm doing that, I'm able to outsource some of those other things that a professional is going to be way better at, and I can make way more money doing what I do best than what it's going to cost to have that professional do that. And it saves lots and lots of headaches as well.
All very good lessons to learn, for sure. So 10 years, I'm sticking with the 10-year thing because this really is a big deal, especially, given that we've gone through the pandemic and a couple of other things in those 10 years. How do you plan to celebrate? What are you doing to celebrate that?
Yeah. So we are doing a number of different things. the biggest thing we're doing, I shouldn't say the biggest thing, we're doing a big celebration. We are in Wisconsin. So typically right now it's really, really cold in February. It's 53 degrees right now. It's balmy outside. We have flies. It's so weird. It's the weirdest February ever. But normally it's really, really cold this year. So we pushed our celebration, although we celebrated January 4th was our official 10-year anniversary. We are doing a big event. We're inviting all of our past employees, all of our past customers, current employees, current customers, and community members, and just really everybody in the area to come and celebrate. So we're going to have just basically a big backyard barbecue. I don't know how many people are going to want my barbecue tofu, but just kidding. We're going to have some food trucks there. We're going to have some games. We'll have a bounce house, some music, and just do a big celebration. On top of that, we're doing a rebranding. I love that my team feels comfortable enough to share how they feel about things. So I did have a recruiter that came to me and said, our logo kind of looks like a 90s hospital logo. So we are, I was like, I can't argue with that. We were not around in 1990, but thank you. So we are rebranding. We do have a new logo. We're rebranding with some new colors. So that's another big thing. We just hired this marketing person. And so having her on board is really helping us spruce up the image that we're putting out there on our various social medias, as well as just kind of a cohesive brand for everyone. And in addition to that, we are getting more involved in the community. So we were very involved in the communities, giving back on whether we were volunteering, mostly volunteering time, especially young in business. There's not a lot of cash flow, but we had time to be out in the community and give back. So this year we are our monthly meetings that we have in person with our entire team, we're dedicating some of that time to give back to the community. So we've got oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Some of the team doesn't know this yet, but we have a Habitat for Humanity build that we're doing. We're going to go out and do some mock interviews with some various different people that could use just a little bit of extra help. We're doing some volunteer work at a nursing home. So a variety of different things like that we're doing, because giving back to the community is huge. I had mentioned I was a single mom when I was young in my career. And so there were a lot of people and a lot of programs that really helped me get to where I'm at now. And I just feel I feel like it's a really important part of being a good business in the community, is really supporting that community that we're a part of.
Well, you spoke so eloquently. You'll have to use this podcast to share all of the great things that you're doing. So you did that just fantastically. So anyway, listen, we're going to take our second short break to hear from our sponsors. And when we come back with our guest, Shobi Zietlow, for our Plead the Fifth section of the show, we're going to find out what Shobi likes best and worst in the industry. Don't walk away. We'll be right back with more of the Shrimp Tank. And Plead the Fifth is brought to you by our corporate sponsors, Ideal Life 360, Cornerstone Financial, First Underwriters Insurance, BC Fitness Studio, and Port Ludlow Resort. Please visit our website at shrimptankpodcast.com/Seattle to learn more about these terrific companies. Now back to the show.
Welcome back to the Shrimp Tank, where we interview the best and brightest CEOs and business thought leaders in the greater Puget Sound area and beyond, including Wisconsin today. I'm co-host Monica Blackwood. Our guest today is Shobi Zietlow. For our next segment, Plead the Fifth.
Yeah, we've annexed Wisconsin, just so you know. It's now part of the Pacific Northwest. Plead the Fifth, Shobi, is where we're going to still pepper you with questions. They might be a little bit tougher, who knows? And you might say, I don't want to answer that. We can plead the fifth. We can only do it once, so be careful. I know you know Monica well, and that could be dangerous. I think all of us in whatever industry or business we're in love or like something the most, but also say, hey, there's some challenges. In your world, in the staffing world, what do you like most and what do you like least today?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, making the job offer and getting an accepted offer is probably my favorite thing. It's always just this time of excitement and just this fresh new perspective, right? What do I like the least? The least is probably when an employee is not performing up to standards and hard decisions need to be made. So I think that over the years, I've learned a lot with that and learned to be better with setting expectations and things of that nature. And really, as long as there is a process in place and you're doing everything you can to help that employee along, it makes it a little easier, but it's always still a little icky when somebody's employment might need to come to an end because it's just not the right fit.
That is tough. I totally agree. And it makes for a rough day, at least for a little bit. But you mentioned earlier in the previous segment that you really enjoy relationships. So tell me, if you were going to start a genuine conversation with someone you don't know, who might be seated next to you at a dinner party or a train station or whatever, how would you start that?
That's a great question. I am terrible at these things. So I've the phrase "be interested, don't be interesting" has stuck with me because I've always felt like the odd one out. Like I was raised really in a weird way. I was born in the back of a van. It's the whole thing. So I always feel like I'm always like trying to tell a story that's relatable, but then it's like you're just making it about you and you're trying to be interesting and you're not being interested. So I should probably plead the fifth on this one because I'm not great. I was like, my go-to is like, how about those Packers? But I don't watch the Packers, so that's a terrible start.
That was I actually just love the whole answer. I like the fact you don't watch the Packers either. So, because yeah, we have a little bit of
Definitely
a
like that part.
So listen, very ironically, I've been asking a lot of the same questions. So I asked ChatGPT, what's a good question I should ask in relation? It gave me one, and you're going to be the very first one I've tried this out on. So here we go. If there was a book about your life, what's the name of the chapter you're in right now and why? So don't blame me. Blame ChatGPT. It came up with that one. I liked it, though. I liked it very much.
That's a great one. I had someone very close to me that was talking about like, oh, back in the day, back in my prime. And I'm like, no, like I am in my prime right now. I'm in my prime. So it's going to be called Her Prime, The Prime. That's a terrible name
I'm in my prime
chapter,
right now. I like that. I absolutely love that. That's fantastic.
I will never be younger than I am right now in this moment. And right now is my prime. Right now, I'm going to make it my, I don't know if I can swear, but you know what where I'm going.
We're in a podcast. It's okay. You can swear.
Okay. I'm going to make it my bitch. It's going to be my
there
bitch.
You go.
I'm in charge. I am in charge of my life. So right now in her prime, that's
I don't even know if that qualified as swearing either. I don't know that we even have to say anything. I mean, that was
perfect.
Easy. So yeah, perfect.
So we can go big from here. No, just kidding. I'll keep it nice. PG.
I just happen to like that you picked a title that like can for that chapter that can like morph and be like Prime Part 2 and Prime Part 3 because it just things just keep getting better and all of that from here on out. So that's great. So if you're in your prime, what would you do on a treat yourself day?
Okay, so I got into my significant other got me into mountain biking. He's addicted, and I was like, this dude is crazy. Like legit, I thought maybe he had a problem with his love for bikes and trails. So on a day that I just had my time, I would get out on my mountain bike. It sounds crazy, and I never thought that would be me, putting on a helmet and some spandex. Come on. But it's this thing. And getting out on the trails is huge. So like in small business, my mind especially, and I think a lot of small business owners can relate to this, like you just can't shut it off, right? Like your brain is on business 24/7, doesn't matter what you're doing, doesn't matter where you're at. Sometimes you're not sleeping at night, you can't shut your brain off. So mountain biking is something where I get my physical activity in, which makes me feel good. I get my, my endorphins and whatever running. But the other piece to mountain biking that I absolutely love is like when you're out there and you're on your bike and you're in the woods, you pay attention to what you're doing right then and right there. Because if you don't, and I've done this plenty of times, if you don't, you fall over, you hit a tree, you crash. Knock on wood, I haven't broke anything yet, other than my ego a couple of times. But that is totally the thing that just gets me out of out of my mind and like just gets me into my body and into the moment. So I would go on a pretty rad mountain bike trip.
Yeah, I was gonna say you got to be present, don't you? You can't be daydreaming. So I've got one last question for you, and I'm actually very eager to hear your answer on this based on some of the other answers you've given. I know you're just celebrating 10 years, but I'm telling you, you got to quit. You can't do this anymore. You have to start another business, a new business based on a hobby. What's the business that you're starting based on a hobby?
I mean, I'm probably going to have to be a mountain bike coach, right? I've gone to a couple of mountain bike clinics. I've met some incredible women, like some of my best friends are mountain bikers. And I've only been doing it for a couple of years, but I think it is very much stepping outside of your comfort zone. And I've had this self-limiting belief of like, you're too old now, right? Like I'm 41 years old. And like, I can't tell you how many times in my life I've thought like, I'm too old to do this. I'm too old to do this. Too old to start running, right? All these things, they're lies. They're not true. You are never too old. So like if I could get out there and like help someone else find something that they're passionate about and help them get healthy at the same time, that would be pretty cool.
So if I were to hire you as a mountain bike coach, because, I did a couple of mountain bike trails when I was younger, we'll say that. And I had a really bad crash, not on a mountain trail, but on the road outside my house when I was younger. So if I were to hire you as a mountain bike coach, are you going to come out to Washington and ride some trails with me?
Sure, of course. When are we doing this? Because I can pull up my planner right now. I was thinking about that. I was like, I don't know what the mountain bike trails. My boyfriend actually has a podcast about mountain bikes and mountain bike trails, so I listen to that a lot as well. And it's taught me a lot about the different areas that there are trails. So I would love to see what the trails are like in your area. Absolutely.
You should come out here too. Both can come out and ride. It'd be fun.
Heck
Dan,
yeah.
are you in?
I'll have the tofu. I'll have the tofu barbecue. I'll be good with that. I'll watch. I play golf, but I'm probably not mountain biking.
All right.
Fair enough.
Well, Shobi, thank you so much for being a guest here on the Shrimp Tank with us. For our listeners who want to get in touch with you or learn more about your company, how can they get more information or learn more about mountain biking for that matter?
Yeah. So, well, for the business, referralstaffingsolutions.com. We are on social media. Those are options. Mountain biking. Should plug the boyfriend's podcast here, Trail Effect Podcast. But I'm also on social media as myself under Shobi Zietlow. So either way works.
Fantastic. Everyone, make sure you check out all the replays on shrimptankpodcast.com/Seattle. And wherever you get your podcast, whether it be iHeart, Apple, Stitcher, SoundCloud, all of them. Please follow us on our show's social media pages on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram.
Well, Shobi, thank you. I got to ask, so have you been on your boyfriend's podcast?
I haven't. So he was going.
So in other words, we are the favorite podcast you've ever been on.
I mean, I hate to say it, but yeah.
Well, don't hate to say it.
Not for you. For him.
Yeah, that's on him.
He's had his chance.
He had his chance. Yeah, he had his chance. So anyway, we really enjoyed having you on the show. Thank you very much. Congratulations on 10 years and many, many more to come. Monica, as always, great to see you. And because we're not too far away, I have a feeling I'm going to be seeing you here in the next coming weeks or so. Hopefully
Absolutely.
The sun comes out. Yeah, hopefully the sun comes out a little bit. Everybody do exactly what Monica said. Like us on our Facebook page. I know I've been having to live stream on my personal page. I got to figure that out. I don't know why, but still like us. We do live stream every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Pacific. Our next show will be next Wednesday, February 28th. Our guest will be Boaz Ashkenazi from Simply Augmented. Michelle Baumberger will be my co-host. In the meantime, be safe, be well, and be prosperous, because until next week, the shrimp is back in the tank. So long.
I've been feeling like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small